It is Wednesday night again, and this is the Wednesday Night Mouse Party. I am DM Foss, and we've got gun websites with us. So far, we'll see if anybody else jumps in. How's it
Maybe
going,
it's too
G-Webs?
late. Pretty good. Maybe it's too late for people to join. Maybe
Oh,
it isn't. Maybe they will join in.
Gizzard Gary, how you
I
doing?
was just talking a bunch of smack about Gizzard not showing up.
Yeah,
I
turn
got
around, Gary.
you.
You got to turn around so we can keep talking behind your back. Are you having a rave?
Yeah, why not?
I
was in my members chat. Next thing I know, I woke up and I was the only one there. So,
oh.
and then about 5 minutes later, I got noticed you were live. It's like, oh, time for the next one. Okay.
Well, I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Pinned at the top of the chat is a link for this week's poll, which we'll get to here in just a little bit. If you haven't voted in the poll, head over there and vote. So far out there in the live chat is Vulcan Rumble, the St. Carolina EDC Reviews. Good evening. Oh, I remembered the banner. Hang on here while I get the banner going. Let me get the right one going. There we go at the bottom of the screen. There's a scroll going with an email address and a link. Those get you somewhere. You can send in comments, suggestions, or pictures within reason. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talk about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out, let me know. I read all the comments, and they are always appreciated. I was watching just before the chat here, I was watching some videos from the 80s like I often do. But I was reading all the comments and kind of
You're talking like music videos from the 80s?
Yeah. Like Night Ranger, Sister Christian, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to read the comments. I can't remember if that's the one that I noticed there's like 15,000 comments, and some of them are like from a week ago. So people are still commenting on that. And there's a lot of, this is when music was good. I wish I could go back. I'm this much old. Reminds me of my childhood and stuff like that. It's you never know, since it's a comment on a website on the internet, what's real, what's not real. But I still find it interesting to read the comments and what people say. And since I am that much old, I do feel some of that nostalgia. I don't know about I wish I could go back kind of thing. But
I think everybody has a touch of that from time to time.
Yeah, I went looked at, after reading comments on a couple videos, I went to a couple songs from the 90s, and I don't know if I looked at any. I don't think I got to 2000s, but it's kind of, each generation kind of says the same thing. That's when music was good, and reminds me of my childhood. And I'm not saying that's, good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just kind of the way it is. Carolina EDC Review says, we all want to go back and redo and know what we know now. We all be rich. I've thought about, every so often I think about that too. If you could go back, would you change anything? And I lean more towards overall no. There's stuff at the time I wish was different. But if things were different, you never know what the outcome is. And I'm happy where I am now. So the choices I made, good or bad, leading up to this, might have changed where I'm at now. It might be the same had I made different choices, or it might be worse, or it might be better. You never know. But
what if the deal is you can go do it again? So, you know what I mean? Like, you can have what you got now, and when you're all done, go back and do it again. So it's not like a either or something.
I don't know. What do you think, Gary?
Well, I was sitting here thinking kind of the opposite thing. What have you ever had a bad situation in your life you wish you could go back and avoid? But having done so, what kind of changes would that cause in your life? Such as, if I'd have avoided one of my marriages, then I wouldn't have the kids I have now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to change it. And maybe something would have changed and I had an accident and died or something. You just don't know if you go back and change history what all it would change. You know, I'd like to think I'm making the best out of the time I have now. I'm not sure I'd want to change it.
Yeah, then along the marriage thing, I've thought about that. There's been a couple gals in the past who I at the time would have been happy marrying, but um, I know that one of them, most likely, I would still be. It would not have been. I still, I may have been happy overall, but I can see not progressing really much farther than I was then. Um,
Yeah, it's like, would it have been better? Maybe, probably not. Uh, but I'm, I'm kind of a history buff, and I'm also kind of a genealogist. So a lot of times I'll go back in time and find something about one of my relatives and imagine what would have been like to live through that. What would it be like to just spend 5 minutes in that time period and see what it was like? Yeah, at least to me, if you had a time machine, would you use it? Would you risk it?
oh, I probably
What if
would.
it depends on how long you're going to go. If you're going to go back for like a week, yeah, why not? It's like a vacation.
Yeah, but what if you messed up history?
What if what if that was, I've seen enough sci-fi that like you get there, you figure out, oh, this was going to happen the whole time. So if you wouldn't have gone, you would have messed up history. Does that make sense?
Oh, you were there the first time it happened too. You just don't realize it. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
That's a real
mean,
plot twist there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi takes on time travel, but that's all I'm saying. It's like I always look at it like, what if it's not an either or? Like, what if it's like, yeah, you can do both because it's time travel. You should be able to have two lives if you want, right?
If that's true, then you really can't change history. You just go back and see it.
Yeah, you just experience the loopiness of it. But on the other hand, if it doesn't make you young again, then when you're 80 or something, going back to the years when you were young ain't going to help you either, right?
I mean, it'd be cool to go back to the 1800s and see some of it, but what if you died of the flu or something like that? Something that's easily treatable today, but back then would have killed you. Yeah.
Oh, if you could go back and without in your life, if you could go back in your life and make a change that maybe wouldn't have a huge difference on the outcome now. Maybe I'm kind of putting too much on that. Would you go back? Because like when I was younger, I was very shy, very insecure. So there are points which I look back and wish that I had been more confident and, maybe a little more adventurous in doing things. But again, I don't know how that would have changed where I am now.
Right. I mean, I've had some bad things happen to me in my life. I also never imagined in my wildest dreams that I'd be able to retire at 63. You know, would
Yeah.
I make a change that would cause me to have to work till I'm 70? I don't know. I like to think there's enough good stuff about my life that just be content with the way it is. But yeah, there's a lot of regrets. I think everybody has regrets. I think that's natural. Man, I wish I could go back and change that, but would you really? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, overall, I try not to have regrets. Um, just because it doesn't, it for me, it doesn't really help anything.
No.
It's a warning not to do it again, but living in that regret stunts your growth as a person. Guns and Waters is out there. Oop. Carolina EDC.
Have you ever met
Yes.
anybody that's like just never had any like real hardships and like either everything was planned out or they just happened to hit all the right, things and maybe they won a bunch of money or something happened and they just didn't have a lot of hardships and trials. And I don't mean like, bad stuff to hurt you, but just difficult things. You're useless. Like what good are you? So I don't think you're alive if you're just observing everybody else and somehow like so that's what I think is a thing. Oh, if I could go back and change everything, you're like saying, hey, I wish I could go back and like be the pinball, the ultimate pinball game that gets the highest score. But if you do that, then you never see what it's like to, you know what I mean? Like you've never see what it's like to miss. You never know.
Well,
what it's like
it
to
builds
experience.
character.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And a
I'm-
lot of times, these people you think lived a bulletproof life, if you really knew the truth, there's way more that you didn't know that they just managed to shield from the outside world. And then you find it out after they passed away. It's like, oh, wow, I never knew that happened. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Biographies
you-
never talk about the bad stuff, right? They only talk about the good stuff.
You have this concept of somebody's life based on what you've observed. Very seldom is that ever anywhere near the complete truth.
Carolina EDC Reviews it asked if I'm going to take the friend of the range videos again or any other regular range content. I am. I'm working on it. There's somebody from work that we're trying to get together to get to the range, and hopefully here in the next couple of weeks we can get. I can get him to the range.
You're going to be like, hey, you want to go to the range? And they'll be like, all right, I guess I'll go with you. And then you misunderstand. And then you take them all the way to Kansas or to Nebraska.
Yeah. It's too bad you can't go to the range this weekend.
Warsaw Patriots out there. Good evening. And Vanessa Kitty.
Maybe people regret not buying a cantaloupe today.
It's actually looking really good. I'm sitting there watching you eat it, wishing I had some.
It's a little.
I like
warm.
cantaloupe. I don't love cantaloupe.
Yeah, I like cantaloupe every once in a while, but this is warm. I don't like warm cantaloupe all that much. It turns out.
Today I had pineapple and watermelon
Together.
Yep.
I've seen that happen before. I never bought the like things where they chop them all up at the store.
That's what I did. I didn't feel like cutting up a watermelon, so I bought the pre-cut stuff.
I buy them little ones that are like a little bit bigger than this. And you
Yeah.
just basically eat it. Yeah.
Carolina ADC's at the beach on vacation. I'm on vacation too. I took this week and next week off because I thought
That sounds like
That-
a
oh.
lot of brackets. A lot of brackets going to be happening.
no, I'm still waiting to get it back. The only two guys that can do the Heisenberg compensating alignment, they're fighting with each other over in Kyrgyzstan. One insulted the other one's goat, and I don't know, it's kind of a mess. So I got to wait for them to work out their problems.
Of course. But you know where a fun place to go on vacation is? Nebraska.
Cornfield in Nebraska.
Yeah. A lot of people never think of that.
Yeah, I thought, well, I'll take the week leading up to Thunder on the Prairie, and then I can kind of slowly switch my schedule to a daytime schedule. And then realized yesterday that some dummy scheduled chats for 11 o'clock at night, which kind of kills switching my schedule over because it's right in the middle of the week. Oh, Carolina ADC does not like grapefruit.
I like grapefruit.
I do too.
Oh, I like all grapefruits. Yeah, it took me a while though. When I was a kid, I didn't like them.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, I
we
started
growing
liking
up.
them when they were free. When there's like grapefruit trees all around now, and people don't like them, like I like free stuff, so now I like them.
But I don't know, when I was a kid, grapefruit was one of the fad diets. So
Mhm.
they were really popular. You know, you had the grapefruit spoons with the serrations on one
I
side,
remember those. Mom had some. Yeah.
and you get squirt in the eye
Mhm.
when you're trying to cut the slices out. Grapefruit is
I was going to say, when I grew up, I found out that you can eat a grapefruit just like you do an orange.
yeah. Vanessa Kitty said grapefruit has been her all-time favorite fruit. I don't know if I have one all-time favorite fruit.
Cherries, pretty easy.
I love to eat. I can eat strawberries like they're going out of style if they're in front of me. I love strawberries.
Back in the olden days, lately I don't like the white and inside strawberries, but then peaches for me second after cherries. In fact, I
Fresh
just-
peaches are good.
earlier.
Yeah.
I like peaches, but I don't like whole peaches because they're so messy. I don't like
Yeah,
eating
they're messy.
peaches.
That's true.
Right
now we're eating them from Peru. It's pretty gross. I like American peaches.
I prefer a nectarine if I'm just going to eat it whole. If it's not sliced, but probably watermelon. I can eat a lot of, followed by pineapple. But I
can
love
Occasionally, not all the time.
blackberries and raspberries.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had dragon fruit? It's
Yes.
white inside. That's super good. It's like, what is that? It's like a pear, kind of, but it's better. It's like kiwi and a pear mixed together. maybe.
Kiwi's good too. Mm-hmm.
I don't like kiwi so much. I can eat it, but I don't like the seeds, I guess. It's okay. But it's good for you, right? Like, I probably should eat more kiwi.
Sharon's out there. Good evening.
Yeah, well,
Mr. Bob Dabalina.
I'd rather eat fruit like this, just eating it, than I won't eat it in like a donut, for example. Like, I don't like it when it's smashed up and filled with sugar and then they call it some kind of fruit filling or something. I don't like that kind of, I don't eat that kind of fruit.
I do, but I would prefer, like fresh fruit more than a fruit filling, but I'm fine with fruit fillings.
When I lived in the old house, there was, along the fence row, there was a pear tree. You had to get it at just the right time because the insects would get into them and make it completely edible. But if you managed to get one that was just at the right spot, man, Fresh pears are good too.
I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
seen a pear tree or like been around a pear tree that have them like that.
My granddad had like a couple pear trees, couple plum, the Italian plums. They're kind of a little longer instead of round, oblong. And those, yeah, you had to be careful because the wasps would get into them.
Yep.
So you had to, and when you picked them,
You know that figs have a wasp inside them? Figs are a flower, and then a bug goes in there and it eats them.
oh, my internet
Cross
just went wonky.
that off my list. Ew.
You didn't know about that?
No.
I guess nowadays they'll make them without the bees, but that's normally every fig had a bee in it. I mean, it gets dissolved in a long time ago, so it's just the juices of the bee, like the minerals of the bee or whatever. It's not like there's an actual dead bee in there. But I guess if you picked one raw, there would be a dead bee in there.
I didn't need to hear that story.
I've heard that Sharon said figs can't grow unless the wasp pollinates it.
Well, because I remember I saw something recently that said, because I follow things that are vegan and vegetarian once in a while, and they said that they do make them now just because of mass production, that they don't want to depend on the bees or the wasps or whatever there.
Warsaw's asking if anybody tried durian fruit. I have not. I've never seen one other than
I
on
bought a
TV.
can of it, but I didn't open it in time to eat it.
I've never heard of it, I guess.
The big stinky fruit that's supposed to
Kind
be
of like
really good.
Yeah, it's like bigger than a football, and it's you pop it open, it looks kind of like a marshmallow. It's probably like a white watermelon, maybe. Like, you know what dragon fruit's like? It looks like I don't know, it's white, but it's supposed to be horrible smell. And you eat, it kind of falls apart into like these big marshmallow seed pod looking things. People say it's amazing taste.
I've eaten these things called cactus pears before. They're actually pretty good.
Fruits? Do you mean the fruits off of a cactus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are good.
Durian
isn't from here. Durian is from like the Indonesia or something, right?
That's why something like that.
Super expensive.
Here's
it's giant
picture of one cut open.
But I have seen it in cans. Oh, maybe I'm thinking of something else. I was thinking of something that's a little more lopsided looking, and it didn't have this. Or maybe I just seen a different one. There's probably different ones. But I don't know. Does it smell like poop, or does it smell like something gross, or like I don't know what it smells like?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of gross thing it smells like, but it's supposed to be something gross.
I mean, I don't want to eat nothing that smells like poop, but I definitely don't want to smell nothing that tastes like, or that smells like death or something, like rancid. But like, I don't know, like some of those cheeses and stuff. I've never eaten those really gross cheeses or smell.
Yeah, I'm not into the stinky cheeses. Vanessa Kitty said the prickly pear cactus fruit. My sister in Arizona won a ribbon at the state fair one year for her jam from prickly pear.
Those are all over the place too. They're like weeds out here, so when it's the time of year, they last for a while. You can go out and grab them. They got spines all over them, so you got to either burn them or knock them around with some grass. They got like little hair spines on them. But you can make like wine out of them. I guess you can make wine out of anything.
Guns of Water said noni is horrible. I have not. I've heard the name, but I didn't know what it was.
I've heard that worms have no knees, same as snakes.
Here's a picture of it.
Oh, I've never
Interesting.
seen it. It looks like it's a bunch of seeds, though.
Yeah, so are strawberries, to be fair.
Kind of. I mean, back in the day, I remember strawberries being red all the way through, right? And then it's like they tasted really, really strawberry. Nowadays, there's like a big white chunk in the middle of them all the time. That only happened like on the big giant ones back in the day.
You wonder if it's because they're picking them before they're completely ripe.
Yeah, I figure it's varieties too, right? Like they're picking varieties that don't spoil fast, so they probably just are different.
And mom used to grow strawberries out in the backyard, and those were always pretty good. But yeah, store-bought ones kind of hit or miss. Tuesday nights at 9.
Oh my goodness, nobody even knows what that is.
It's not
Probably
really a
get
thing
sued.
anymore.
Yeah, you get sued for saying something like that. Go to jail.
It
What if
used to
Night
be a
Strike wakes
rule
up?
you had
Probably
to say that.
him and Smeggy woke up right now. Like, what happened?
Somebody remembered.
They're texting each other. Like, somebody said it.
Oh my god.
Oh, so let's take a look at our this week's poll. Let me.
We were talking about dragon fruit before, but yeah, I'm a big fan. Whenever I see it, I grab it. Well, whenever it's not like $5 a pop. The dollar store here used to have it for like $2 a dragon fruit. And you can take a scoop of dragon fruit, smear it on a towel or something, a paper towel. You know, let that set for a few days till it starts to sprout a little bit, and then get them in the ground. And depending on where you live, you can make grow dragon fruit it's pretty hardy and pretty. What's the word when you have a lot of fruit? Productive.
Fruitful.
Yeah, exactly.
So this week's poll was: have you ever felt sadness because someone famous passed away? And when I was listening to your chat, G-Webs, I don't know why this made me think of this one. Well, I was trying to think of a poll to put up, and you were talking. What were you talking about?
Relationships and stuff. That what was it called? Psycho something relationship or something.
Yeah.
Something relationship. Yeah, where audiences and people that are on the other side of the microphone.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting topic. But that got me on to have you ever felt sad because someone famous passed away? 65% said yes, 35% said no.
Now, I left a comment on there about 5 minutes ago. I don't know.
Let me refresh.
I guess you'll hit them, but I don't think sadness means like you have to be like emotionally crippled for any amount of time. Like I can feel sad for something and then move on with my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Caucasian Sasquatch said Robin Williams, Karen Woodson, Sean Connery, the original 007, New York Outcast, not any more than any unknown neighbor. Mike, maybe Betty White, only because she missed her 100th birthday by 2 weeks. While some deaths shouldn't have happened, dying is a part of life. To a chef and barbecue. Nope, not a real connection to anyone. I don't personally know that things occur. Tim Allen, there have been a few like Robin Williams and John Lennon. Just a little sad, though. Nothing like when a close friend or relative passes. Eric M509, Richard Keel, Jaws from the Bond movies. I knew him personally, and John Wayne. Gun websites. I feel sad when anyone passes away too soon, especially when they have been contributing. Shafty said Steve Irwin. The Dude, Dr. Charles Stanley. Woods, Betty White. X Adam 1, no, because I'm an adult and I live in reality. I don't know them. Sorrow is for my loved ones. And Gizzard Gary said, I still remember watching Monday Night Football when they broke in and said that John Lennon was dead. Such a shock. I remember I was riding in the car when it came on the radio. I'm a huge Beatles fan. I don't know. I can't say I was broken up about it. So I'm not emotionally invested in the Beatles personally, individually. But I do remember that.
Imagine how when the Beatles phenomenon was, like I don't know when that was, the 50s or something, like in black and white.
60s, early
Is it
60s, yeah.
So when that happened, it was a phenomenon. Like I don't know if it was the biggest. It was the biggest. It was the first. It was the first big one. It wasn't the only time, but it was like the first giant one. But anyway, it was a whole wave of people. And I think it has to do with the baby boomers, being such a big generation, and then they had something, it was something for them to do as a generation or whatever. I'm assuming. But anyway, that had to be is it reciprocal the right way? Like on the opposite side, you would think there'd be what's the word? Like an overwhelming amount of concern or whatever that word is, appreciation or awareness, because when he dies, because he was, like you said, the first one to die, and then it was unexpected and all that, and it was within their lifetime. It wasn't like they were all elderly. Like I don't know how old. When was that? The 70s. So it was like 10 years, 20 years after. No,
What was it, 80?
80. It had to be
80
20
something?
years after.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely had a long time in the public eye. But I'm just saying because of the scale, sort of like Elvis, right? Like because Elvis was so huge when
Yeah.
they say Elvis died, everybody freaked out because there were so many people into Elvis.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think there's any celebrity or famous person that I felt sad. The closest would have been Dave Niehaus. He was the announcer for the Mariners, for the Seattle Mariners baseball team. Because he was their first announcer, and up through he died in the 2000s. So from 77 up through when he passed away, he was the voice of the Mariners. So, from my childhood, listening to games, and he would do some of the TV broadcasts. I loved baseball and the Mariners. And so he was the close association with my childhood memories and stuff. And I didn't feel sad so much. It just seemed like something was missing now. Listening, there was still Rick Riz, who I think he came in the 80s, like mid 80s. Who he's kind of now the voice of the Mariners. But that would probably be the closest.
So what
For
about like the Challenger when everybody was watching that and that happened?
Felt shock, but I can't say I felt, I didn't cry over it.
I was at work and I was a group lead at that time. I found out about it while I was on break because somebody who was coming in for night shift had just watched it right before they had to come in to work. So I had to go in and break the news to my group when I got back from break. And yeah, it was
crap.
quite a shock.
You were at work. I was like a little kid. I was a little kid at school, probably like 5th grade or something.
What year was that?
I don't remember anymore. It had to be like the early
This is
80s.
8.
Challenger disaster was 86, January
86.
28, 1986. I was 26 years old. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I was a little older than I thought, but
Or one day shy of turning 26. Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine said that when the Challenger was launched, teacher rolled in the TV so they could watch it. The shuttle blew up. They immediately rolled the TV back out. But he's a little younger than me. 86, I would have been in high school.
Whippersnapper.
Yeah.
a lot of people were watching it because it was. Wait, was this the one where they were landing?
No, taking off.
Yeah, everybody was watching it because it was it was the teacher, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of still new. Anyway, it happened during the day for most of us, so yeah, a lot of people were sitting at school watching it.
Oh, Hillbilly's out there, but he's out hunting. He's listening while
Yeah, it
hunting.
was 11:39 a.m. Eastern. So yeah, would have been morning.
Sharon said she had a teacher that was on that flight.
Oh shit!
Yeah, can't really think of any other celebrity that
Princess Diana, maybe.
Oh, Arlie
no,
Emery.
not me.
Arlie Ermy. That guy was a cool dude. Oh, I
He
met him
was. That's
names, but he was like real. So I suspect a lot of people knew that he was real, and he probably affected a lot of people.
yeah. Someone like that is just I feel like, well, that's too bad, but doesn't touch me personally.
Right, I hear you, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know if it's a big thing, but or if people remember, but at SHOT Show every year, the Glock booth, he would be there signing. So, and I think he did the same at NRA. I don't know. I think he did the same at NRA. Now that I'm thinking about it, so essentially, though, he had a good recollection or something. Like he could remember people. So I'm just saying, like he touched a lot of people personally because of those signings and stuff. He wouldn't rush people. There was a huge line, and no one really was concerned because they all knew that once he got up there, he was going to chat with you for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just imagine because he was so hands-on with so many people and such a big piece of like our culture with our movies and stuff in a couple of ways. I just think that might have been a big one for our community.
Hillbilly said he was 8 when Elvis died. He did cry.
Luckily, Elvis just went undercover for the CIA, so he's just sitting in some mansion right now. 83 years old.
Elvis didn't die. He just went home.
Now, I was in high school when Elvis died. 17, I think.
And Carolina EDC said he saw John Paul II when he was younger.
I remember him going around the country, but I didn't go look or nothing.
Yeah, he came to the United States, didn't he? I think so.
Yeah, I remember him driving like it was a big deal.
Because he was seems like to me he was in St. Louis and I was there that weekend. And there was just all kinds of excitement about the Pope being there.
Yeah, I'm not Catholic, so.
Because I remember seeing a picture in a local paper the next day. There was a picture of Mark McGuire. You remember Mark McGuire?
Yes.
No.
And
Sosa and Mark McGuire.
And picture of him with Pope John Paul II. And basically the caption underneath it is Pope meets a cardinal or something like that,
Giving him tips on how to juice. Mr. Bob Davalina said, I remember when John Paul first passed away, there was a rumor the next Pope would be Pope John Paul, George, and Ringo.
They were close.
Carolina said he was 6 or 7 when the Pope came. And that you're old, Gary.
Now, I was alive when JFK was assassinated, but I was only 3 and I don't have any memory of it. However, I do remember when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated because it seems like they came into school and told us about it.
I remember when Reagan was shot, I wrote a letter saying, I'm sorry somebody shot you.
I was at work that day and somebody came in at noon and said, somebody shot Reagan. Like, really?
I got a form letter back, but I thought my form letter was better than my friend who had written the president, who got a little note card I thought my letter was better than his note card because it was a letter. And it's
Yep.
I kind of wish I still had it, but it's long disappeared.
Hillbilly brought up Derek Thomas. Yeah. If you're from around here, that was one that kind of shocked a lot of local people, too. So I was in Kansas City when they announced that he had passed away because it was unexpected. And I was listening to a local radio station. They were telling people, to turn their headlights on as a sign of respect. It's the middle of the day, and it was just eerie to see all these people in Kansas City driving around with their headlights on.
Warsaw said that Bits reminds him of Otis from Milo and Otis.
Kind of. I was figuring it out. He's getting fatter now because he's pregnant. But when he was skinnier, the only dog he looked like, I think, was the Men in Black one because that's a skinny one. Milo is a puppy, so he's got that pudginess. But I think that's why I don't think he looks so much like too many. Because most of the time when they show a pug on a movie, they're fat. They're always making fun of pugs being fat because they're almost always fat. I watched pretty much all the pug movies that existed when I first got him, but he didn't look like any of them to me. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch them again. Some of them. No, I never liked the one on what's his name from Men in Black. Even when I didn't have a pug, I never liked that character in Men in Black. He's just dumb. But I think of it like an Ewok. It's just there to make a toy for the kids or whatever. But I'll acknowledge that he kind of looks like him. Frank, I guess.
I could say that's the only reason, like the Inspector Gadget movie with Matthew Broderick. The only reason I watched it because there's a beagle in it.
Oh, you know what he does like though? This little dog here. Whenever there was those in the, I don't know if we're going to talk about that show, but there was this show that I've been watching, and there's times in it when there's packs of wild dogs running around biting people, and whenever those wild dogs would bark, little dude, no matter where he was, he would come running up and start barking with them other dogs. So they must be saying something in dog language that he vibes with, because he would bark almost every single time there'd be any kind of dog barking in that show. Or maybe he's English.
I was going to say, do they bark with an English accent?
Right. But he doesn't do it with other stuff. I mean, I've had him for a while, and I've been listening to lots of dogs bark.
It was a good show. We're talking about the survivors from 1975 on BBC. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you saw when I messaged you on Gilded, which there is a link for the Gilded server, place to hang out, chit chat. I was a little disappointed that Abby never came back, and that Greg died off camera.
Okay. Well, so I don't know if Blizzard's ever seen it before. Do you know what we're talking about?
He stepped away.
Oh. So I don't know if other people, but I've been asking people, and some people have seen it. Yankee's seen it. So somebody's seen it before. It must have been on with Doctor Who back in the day, and I just never paid attention. I didn't like Doctor Who that much, so I watched, I only watched Hitchhiker's Guide. I didn't watch, and I watched Monty Python, but I didn't watch anything else from England.
I've never seen Doctor Who, ever.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. It's weird. I like science fiction a lot, and I can't handle Doctor Who because it's like English science fiction. Like weird. But anyway, this Survivor show is amazing. I really, really liked it. At first, I was like, I'm not gonna watch no show from BBC because I don't like Doctor Who, bro. I really don't like Doctor Who. And this guy, now that I know this is written by people who written Doctor Who, and half of these actors have been on Doctor Who. So like, I think BBC just mixed a lot of stuff up. I'm sure they were on lots of shows together. But I mean, I like everything about that show, really. But I was gonna suggest, I'm gonna put out some kind of a challenge. You know how remember Barbecue? That guy Barbecue, Guns and Barbecue, I think his channel's name was. Remember that guy? He
Yes.
used to do a show where he would do book reviews, and he would make people read books, and then they would talk about them. I'm going to suggest people watch this show, and then maybe do like a season 1 chat, and then a season 2 chat, and a season 3 chat. But assuming people want to watch it or whatever. But that's why I was hesitant to talk about some of the, I don't know, things that happened in season 3, for example, right off the bat. But man, it was a good show. So essentially, 4,999 people out of 5,000 die in a week from a virus. And it's, I don't know, how come it happens to be a virus that gets lost out of China? I mean, that's just a weird coincidence. But it's from 1975. And the thing literally starts with a guy in China dropping a piece of glass or something, right? And then boom,
Yeah.
there's airports, and like a week later, 4,999 people out of 5,000 are dead. So it's just so cool because I haven't seen that premise before, where it leaves all the resources behind. It's not like an alien attack where everything's rubble, and it's not like after a war or something where everything's rubble, and it's not like one of these scenarios where everybody's fighting with each other. It's just everybody's gone, and a whole bunch of people are just like happy to be alive. And then, of course, there are some people being mean to each other. But I don't know. So you started watching it like 4 episodes. You told me about it. And then I watched pretty much all of it straight through. Like I was useless for the last week or two watching this thing. Now that you've watched all of it, do you still like it as much? Is it worth doing this like challenge to see other people try to watch it and talk bad about it?
I do like it. You have to remember that it's 70s BBC, so it's state-run TV. The vibe is definitely 70s, but the stuff they deal with, it's good. They give you something and then they take something away, kind of sometimes. So it's not just, it's not like the Smurfs out in the woods.
If
But
anything,
I
it's
really
want to have prepper conversations. Like a sitcom is like, hey, you want to see funny things happen? Let's create a comedy around all these crazy situations. This is like a bunch of preppers sat around and said, what would happen if, and then they made a bunch of episodes to show like all these
yeah,
different
and
scenarios, right?
the concepts they deal with in the episodes, you can really see.
Yeah, and they're way more
happening.
than just like a zombie's eating my brains. It's like way more complicated than that, way more cool.
But I don't know how to describe it. But each concept is kind of condensed a little bit.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
like the
fits in one
extract.
episode.
Yeah. And then it just totally disappears. That can be a little frustrating. Like, oh, well, let's talk about this or that. And then it's like just gone. But
yeah,
it's because of what they're trying to do. I don't know how many people, I can never know. That's the weird thing about, well, this whole, what do you call that? Whatever it's called, whatever that thing we talked about, the something social relationship. So as somebody who's been blabbing on this side of a microphone for a long time, I mean, I don't remember when you came around. I don't remember when Gizzard came around. So every once in a while, if I'm trying to say something like, I mean, Smeggy, you guys both know. So if I talk about something Smeggy did, you know what I'm talking about. But if I talk about something from like, I don't know, I can't think of somebody's name, like Mr. Colt 45 ACP. Do you guys remember that guy?
no.
So, like just somebody from a long time ago. So I think that's one of the things where whenever Matt and Yankee and I first started hanging out, and that was in 2010, I guess, or 2009. 2010 is when we could all chat together. But in 2009, I was just being mean to Yankee in text chats because he was such a dingus in Matt's live chat. So back then, Matt could go live and everybody else was just chatting. And Yankee was always saying dumb shit, and I was always getting mad at him. So when we could first get together, we were like yelling at each other for like, I don't know, a year basically, because they were all stupid. And I was trying to get them to quit being stupid. And then we all kind of came together only in the first place because we all were preppers, essentially. Like we all had that interest and we were all talking about it, and we all had different ideas about it. That's why we would fight about stuff all the time. But anyway, that show seems like, man, I wish that show would have been on instead of stupid. What was that show we were all watching? The zombie show, Walking Dead. Like that's the reason everybody got together in the first place. It's because that stupid show was on. and it was okay for a couple of seasons, and then it got so stupid that I quit watching it. If it would have been this Survivor show, like way cooler topics, like none of the dumb, just drama shit. It was all, every show was about some kind of topic, right? Like some issue, and they kind of, what's the word? Like, you know, delved into it. Very little action, I guess. There was some little action, so I guess it's kind of a boring show that way. A lot of talking, but like I say, as far as prepping goes, like I thought it was super neat. This little dog I found running down the street in 2020. When did I find this dog? No, 22. Because I've had him for I think 2 years, and then I think it was 22. The end of 22. You can go watch the videos because at some point there's a video where I go, I found this dog running down the street, and that's when I got him. I think it was 2 years ago, and he's maybe 6 months old at the time, so he might be 3, but he behaves like a baby.
Larry Knopf is out there. Good evening. Yeah, I remember because I said, "Oh, you got a new dog, huh?" You go, no, I'm not keeping him. It's like, yeah, you are.
I'm not keeping this dog.
Yeah, I think we all knew.
I figured he was some old lady's dog. I was going to give him back.
You tried, as I recall. You put up
I tried
notices
everything.
and stuff. Yeah.
But unfortunately, anyway, nobody wants him. He's stinky. He's very stinky, and he makes a lot of noise.
The same YouTube channel that has Survivors has the Green Hornet. So I went through and watched all the Green Hornet from the 60s, and they've got one from the 40s. So I'm gonna go watch.
Ooh, old real original.
I remember that show. That was cool.
Did you watch the newest one? It's lame.
No.
Mm-mm.
It's really weird.
Yeah, it's Kevin Smith directed it, and they made it a comedy. So I wasn't interested.
Yeah, like the coolest part of it is Kato. Kato, and yeah, they just made a buffoonery of that, made it a mess.
Yes, the guy who should have won the best sidekick bracket, but
Oh, he's talking about real people.
Yeah, he mentioned
some of them folks.
45 Alpha Charlie Papa. I can remember spending time with him at Wanamaker in November that year. Him and I sat at the table and talked for the longest time, kind of become pretty good friends. And I think it was a month later he was gone. That was kind of...
Yeah, I had just kind of started watching. I don't know how long but hadn't been watching him for very long. Kind of started getting to know him. Kind of same with Willie Bullet Man. Just kind of started getting to know him when they passed. Mr. Holster, I think, had maybe just passed when I started hanging around. Because I know the name, but I never saw anything from it.
I remember finding his channel, and I'd been watching it for a while, and he was just kind of the most entertaining fellow. Kind of always made you chuckle and stuff, but he was fun. When he started to get sick and was talking about what happened and everything, you just couldn't help but take it all in and feel sorry for the guy. That's another one of those questions you could ask, because in the case of Mr. Holster, he knew it was coming. Would you rather know when your demise is coming, or would you rather just go in the middle of the night not having any clue?
Man, that's a tough one. Neither.
Yeah, I lean towards not knowing. But I don't think there's a right answer.
Once the meat sack is worn out, I'll have the brain stuff plugged into some kind of a cool computer and then eventually jammed into some kind of robot body. And then I don't have to worry about all that business. Then I got to worry about batteries, more batteries. I have threatened this dog, so if he has health issues, I'm going to beat him up. So I don't think he'll have any health issues. We have an understanding.
Yeah, but he doesn't listen.
That's true. He does sneeze a lot. But like I say, I didn't look. I was just minding my business, driving down the street, and he was running in front of some car, about to get killed. So, or just slowing that car down, I guess. So I picked him up thinking he was some old lady's dog. I'm not intending to keep him. I would have picked up a good one if I was going to know I was going to keep him. Can't leave this dog in the car because it gets all hot. Like right now, he's mainly complaining because it's so hot in here. It's just hot. Like if you touch his belly is super hot. Dude, let's go lay down on the concrete again. But he's so small, I can bring him into places. I've never had a dog I could bring into places, and everybody, instead of going, that dog can't come in here, they go, oh my goodness, look at that dog. Can I pet him? It was like Mellow, people will pet her, but nobody's gonna let her into a business. You know, she's gross. Well, I don't consider James. I mean, James is a dude I knew, but that was a solid piece of business right there.
I didn't know him. Never watched his stuff.
Yeah, doesn't matter. He was a real dude. He did his thing, and he did his shit publicly in a most authentic way I've seen anybody. And I've been around. I've seen a lot of people do shit. Like James was 100%. You seen him? That's the way he was. That was him, and he got big and literally died publicly. Like, that's legit. There's nobody else going to be. Well, he's the first for sure. I suspect he'll be the only to have been able to do that. Bullshit, he didn't make the community look good. He's a solid dude.
Well, I think he's talking about one incident.
Fuck that. People can't handle that. There's way worse shit that's happened. But anyway, he's definitely not talking about Bundy Ranch, where he was one of the only humans to show up and be there. A nonviolent confrontation that's, I don't know, could say ended a bunch of bullshit that was heating up.
Carolina ADC reviews said any of y'all have a firearm that you all want to get this year? There's lots of them. I'm just don't have the monies to get them.
Yeah, probably not. I would get 30 Super Carry something or another, so I'd like to shoot it. They sent me a bunch of ammo, but I don't have any guns that shoot it. And then NAA makes a new gun they should send me without me having to pay for it, but I won't ask them for it. And somebody else makes a little tiny revolver. I can't remember who now, but somebody else made a little tiny revolver that's pretty cool. And I should get one of those sent to me too, but I won't ask for it. So I'm not going to get any.
I really would want those, like the half-size guns that they use like pinfire rounds. It's like a
you mean little miniatures?
Yeah, it's like a 1911, but it's half the size.
Well, half size of a 1911 would be like a 380 or something.
Well, I mean, yeah,
they make a Browning makes like a little 2/3 scale or something, or 1/3 scale. But yeah, those are super neat. I passed on a M16 for $300 one time. I feel like an idiot for not buying it. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but it was a little tiny. It looked like, you've seen those barbecue mat lighters that look like M16s
Yeah.
and AK-47. It was that size, but it was 100% like metal and plastic. Like, you know, somebody built it. It wasn't like a mass-produced thing. I don't think. I didn't get it. It might have been mass-produced.
Larry said he's on the hunt for a 10 millimeter. I would like to get another hammer fired 10 millimeter. What I want to do is, which I should have done, build a couple 1911s, buy the frames and, you know, put them together. But Washington passed a ghost gun law, so I can't do that now. And Barron, before it went into effect, Barron said, "Hey, you should do." Sent me links for different websites. Said you should build 1911s. It's like, nah, I don't want to, but now I do want to, and it's too late.
I don't know. Back in my day, in fact, my whole life growing up, it was you buy a 1911 at the store. You don't put together a 1911.
Well,
Unless you're-
there's a reason that I want to do it that way. Caroline ADC said, doesn't Taurus have a 10 millimeter? They do, and I'm really interested in it. There's some problems because now we have a 10 round mag limit, which makes it harder because the TH10 is, I don't know if it's like 15 rounds or something. But yeah, I am interested. I have the TH9, which I really like. But I don't know. M. Gabriel's out there. He said, blah.
How long do you think you're going to have these lame rules?
I think for a while until the Supreme Court rules on them. I think.
Do you want to help me figure something out?
If I can, sure.
I bought this, and I can't figure out what it is. I've got a roll of it. It's flexible. Here is where I thought maybe it was heat shrink. So I wrapped it around something and I like burned it, thinking it would heat shrink to it or something. And all it did is this. And then I got this side all wet because I was really hoping it was, what do you call that? When you set this on the water and then this.
Yeah, that was my first thought.
I was hoping it was that dipping stuff. So I got this all wet and nothing happened. But I also have no idea what it is, and I've never owned the dipping stuff, so I'm still holding out hope. Because it feels like there's, it's matte. Like this is where I burned it, but this is like a matte finish, and this is like a shiny finish. I can't figure out why you would want this without any adhesive on it. Like I thought, oh, it's for decals or whatever, because it's the same kind of stuff maybe, but I can't imagine why you would have this. Any ideas?
Yeah, I don't know. My first thought was hydro dipping, like you're saying, but if you said you soaked it and it didn't do anything.
Have you tried scanning that barcode on it and entering that into a Google search?
Yeah, it came up with like just the wrong thing, like a coat or something. Like it's a local barcode, not like a national one or whatever. Those, it's just like a wrong barcode, I guess. And it seems such a weird pattern. It looked like, the kind of pattern you dip, right? Like it's so put together, like you dip small things with it or something. But that's why I thought maybe like that's what you'd shrink wrap it onto something too. But maybe I don't know how to shrink wrap.
Did you buy it at the bin store or where'd you get it from?
Yeah, I just got it randomly without a label. I'm going to try taking a heat gun to it next.
You could take a picture of it and, on that, there's a search on Amazon that you can search by a picture.
Yeah, it did, but it came up with like every other thing in the world besides anything made out of plastic. It was like all canvases and stuff.
It's like you thought of everything I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Other than that, I don't know. Is that the total size of it, or is that just a piece of it?
No, I just cut this off because it had the what do you call it? The piece of sticker on there, and they can't pull that sticker off. So I was like, I'm just going to use this as a sacrificial.
Was it like a long roll or something, or?
It was this wide. I don't know what it was. It says this on it, but I don't. That doesn't help me. Vinyl frog. So I already looked it up. I didn't find nothing.
Vinyl wrap sheets.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's Vinyl
alright.
Frog.
Oh,
Vinyl frog wrap. Let's see.
I looked on my phone and it didn't find
for?
Vinyl frog. Oh, look at that.
Wrap for. Oh,
So maybe it is a car wrap type of thing. I,
like
just
a
don't-
car wrap. Okay, yeah.
I need to figure out how to work it, I guess. Vinyl for the Cricut. Yeah, that's what I kind of thought too, but I couldn't remember. Why would you use this unless you're making like a stencil or something? All right, I'll watch some videos on it then. Like I said, I looked for it with my phone and I didn't find nothing, so I figured it was just some old thing or something that's not on Amazon. So what should I wrap with it? Like a helmet or something, maybe? Oh, maybe I'll do a water bottle.
Yeah, they do make a real tree camo wrap. It's on their site. Which I don't. That pattern's not real tree, is it?
Yeah.
And
No.
there is a camouflage.
I wonder how
I could
you
see this. If this
Is
melts
this-
on, then I could see why this would be like a good protection for a car.
Do one of these two look like the pattern?
Yeah, probably that middle one. Where'd you find that? Oh, yeah, there it is. I'm just found it.
It's equipped with pressure-sensitive acrylic adhesive.
Huh.
So does
Where's
it
that?
peel apart?
They
No.
have.
I also burned it, so maybe that didn't help.
I don't know. They've got instructions on how to wrap.
I was just looking at this vinylfrog.com. I'm in their FAQ section. It says it is equipped with pressure-sensitive acrylic adhesive that forms a robust bond with the surface. The adhesive is protected by a supreme quality plastic liner that protects its high tack for a long time.
Huh.
So it's almost like you could peel a backing off of it and stick it to something.
That would make more sense, right? Because why would you build this if it wasn't like that? Now I'm looking at it to see if I can peel the backing off of it. Uh-oh. Let me grab a little knife or something.
So it's too bad you don't have something sharp around there.
Uh-oh. I think Gizzard just figured it out. Look at this. Where did this camera go? I don't know if you can tell, but it is peeling off of here. So I thought you put it on like window tint, like you got everything wet. I just peeled it away.
Well, even like the window tints you get at Home Depot and stuff, they have a backing that you peel off.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
That's
just
very
like that.
thin. Okay, cool. So yeah, I got a roll of. This is the side that's sticky. So maybe this is like a heat shrink. Oh, I bet you that's what it is. You peel this off. Let me try to wrap this flashlight. That's what I was doing before.
I put a
See.
link for their
Clinging on there.
how to wrap a car in the private chat.
Okay, thanks. And then it looks like it doesn't matter that this thing is here because it's going to stick to this. Well, I definitely have it on here now. I just have to figure out. Does it say to heat it or to use like water?
I think it's heat.
Mm.
I don't know, but
What I'm reading, it just says just stick
Maybe
it
it
on
just
there.
clings. Maybe it just clings. And then that's the whole.
Well, it says it has adhesive on it. Pressure sensitive acrylic adhesive.
Huh. Oh, so maybe just the act of squishing it down with the squeegee kind of glues it.
in that link that I gave you, it says heat number 6 on it. It's a heat gun.
Okay.
Oh.
That would make sense because it feels like you can kind of tell what it feels like a little layer of rubber band almost.
It's probably just to soften it enough so it lays on the contours.
Yep. Yeah, very
Like a
cool.
hair
That's
dryer.
about the right. Well, I've got a heat gun, probably. Oh crap! I was just using it too, so it's probably on top of a pile of something. But this is about the right size camouflage for something this size, right? Like a flashlight size. Like that's the
Yeah,
right
but if you drop it, you'll never find it again.
Yeah, that's true. But if I was looking at the right thing, I could wrap like a drone in this. That would be neat.
Have you seen the videos from Disneyland where they're doing drone shows now? I think instead of the fireworks. I don't know if they're still doing the fireworks.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
kind of
those
neat.
look kind of cool.
Yeah, because it's not just like a shape, like a ball or Mickey. They'll do. It's not what I've seen, but an example of kind of the stuff they do. But it'd be like, like a moon and then a cloud passing in front of the moon. So the round moon part that is obscured by the cloud disappears, like if the cloud is actually passing in front of it. Kind of that detailed.
Yeah,
stuff
I've
for the
seen like
drone
they'll
show.
put up like a blob will turn into a horse, and then the horse will be running, and then like, is it like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I thought it was a little more in depth where one thing is obscuring another thing. So the drones that are obscured turn off, so it looks like something is actually passing in front of them, rather than just being one object in the sky. You've got multiple objects interacting with each other.
Well, that's the thing. I bet you they're just taking it to a whole nother level with Disney money. Yeah, this is not working with a lighter, FYI. Like, I don't even think. Maybe if you really knew what you were doing, you could do it with a lighter, but it essentially ripped it all up. Yeah, very cool though. Thanks. Does it say what that costs? Now that I know what to look for, I'm gonna look for it back on Amazon.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that's like a sample, or else it's like for doing helmets. Oh, moly, $61, $599. I'm gonna vinyl wrap my van with that stuff. I'm gonna vinyl wrap all the parts that are paint falling off of it. Total cost of vinyl wrap. A full camo wrap done by a professional will be $2,000 to $5,000. But it looks like it's potentially a $60. That can't be.
On Amazon, how wide is that? Is that roll?
That can't be a foot. No, I got my tape measure outside. I think it's a foot, though.
It says 12-inch wide by 5 feet long. The dark green one here is $8.
Okay, so I got $7 off. I still would have rather it be dip. That's what I was hoping it was when I picked it up. I was all giddy. I'm like, oh, I got some dip stuff now.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different camo ones on Amazon.
Yeah, it would be better if it was multicam. Looks pretty kind of close to multicam though.
I still like woodland pattern personally, but
Yeah,
you know, it's
that's what
when I grew up.
Yeah, exactly. Gizzard, are you still awake? Oh, Gizzard's the wrong person to ask, I guess. I was gonna
I
ask
think
you
I'm still awake. Yeah.
if you got any interest in watching that Survivor show, but you don't like watching stuff.
You talking about the Survivor? Like,
It's a big ask. They're 40-minute long shows, and there's 13 of them per season, and there's 3 seasons, so it's a lot of watching.
okay, so you're not talking about the one where they drop people off on an island and they
No,
have
no,
to
no.
compete.
Oh, I forgot
in
about that. No, it's nothing like that at all. It's
Oh,
more
okay.
like, you remember that show The Day After?
games.
I think that was what it was called. It was like probably that era, maybe a little before. But instead of being the nuclear bomb, it was like, say, some kind of disease or virus.
Yeah, the
The thing is,
Day
they don't even
After
have
was filmed within an hour here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. You got a whole bunch of ICBMs up there.
There's a couple.
I haven't been to them. You got 2 squadrons, same as us.
So I put a link out in the chat for the YouTube channel that has the videos.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if
that's what I was
anybody's
Because that's
interested,
the other thing, is it's free. You can watch it on YouTube. You don't have to go nowhere. There's no commercials or nothing. But I was gonna put that out as like maybe next month or something. Do a chat about it, because I can't wait to chat about it. I really want to find somebody who's watched it besides, just the 2 of us and bore everybody. But they just go into so much cool stuff. Like, I haven't been interested in prepping in forever, because it always gets into fantasy bullshit, and if people only ever want to talk about the guns. And this show is wrong. Like, there's no way this show could happen in the United States, because everybody walks around with double barrel shotguns all the time. But, there's no scenario where that would ever happen here. But it's interesting to see a future, is that what it's called? Like a future scenario that's anyway.
what I mean, not trying not to give any spoilers, but like when the lady gets killed and they
How many ladies get killed? What do you mean?
the one where they basically have a trial for
There was like
For-
3 trials, dude.
well, early on, the first lady that gets killed from the community, and they
Oh,
They-
I know what you mean. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
hard to watch.
it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Like, they're not even farting around. Yeah, exactly. Like, do like in what's The Walking Dead or whatever, they're like, ooh, it's like, what is those? It's called like what's that called? Where you just shock people for the sake of shocking them. Like, oh, it's the dark room. Oh, I'm surprised. Like, oh, it's suspenseful, and oh, I'm shocked. Like, none of that in this one. It's just all scenario. How would you deal with it? Scenario. How would you think?
Yeah.
How would you deal with it? And like, here's 3 different ways to deal with it. Here's how a communist would deal with it. Here's how like a fascist would deal with it, and here's how a capitalist would deal with it. Or I don't know. They don't really say capitalist ever, but they certainly make fun of communism. I mean, that's why I liked it so much, because they just wail on communism the whole time. Like, every time somebody tries to be a communist in the future, they're like, hey, what are you, an idiot?
What and in the different communities, you can kind of see, their approach. You can kind of see, yeah, that I could see that actually happening. That people of that like mind being together and trying to do it their way.
Oh, no, it makes 100% sense, because it's communism totally works for like a minute, right? Like at some level, and then like it works perfectly up until you get off the farm or whatever. I guess, I don't know. Like, it actually did work in the theory in this thing a couple of times. But anyway, that's what it's more about. It's not like just what's underneath that bridge, or they got to go through a tunnel, or we got to run from a bunch of zombies. It's more like crazy scenarios, like realistic situations, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, like we're so happy and content. We got our cows. Oh no, the cows got smallpox and died. Like, oh shit. like, dang it. I thought they were gonna like, oh, we're gonna live in this place. Nope, we burned down. Like,
You got dysentery.
And then they also don't care about just like, nope, like 2 people left from the crew or from the cast. Like we're just starting with like 2 people. Like I don't think that's too much of a spoiler, but like more than once they're just like, okay, most of the people died. And that's so realistic compared to the stuff where it's like 19 people that just happened to live through the zombie outbreak, just happened to also live through each other for 9 years or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to give away too much. But it's like when kind of halfway in-ish, it's like the people that either were immune, didn't get affected, or that were isolated, so they didn't get affected, or got sick but had enough natural immunity, came back from it. But when the people who made it, you get people who weren't affected because of maybe like isolation, interact with people who had it and maybe are still carrying it, so they end up killing people by infecting.
Like, hey, how you doing? How are you doing? Where have you been? I've been hiding up in the hills. Oh, I'm dying. Like, oh shit! Like we just killed people by saying hello to them. Like that kind of shit happens. Yeah, it's neat, but I don't know. I'm hoping people will watch it. I don't know if we're chatting it up too much or making it sound boring. But there's so few guns in it that the guns are neat, and they don't need guns because it's not a fake zombies are running after you crap. And there are bad guys, but they're realistic to some extent. So much frustration. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, there's so few people left because they say in England there's only like 1,500 people left. Scotland there's like 15,000, but that's because they were all up in the Highlands and isolated.
Yeah, but guess what? As soon as somebody coughs on them from England, are they still alive? Like
that was my thought.
Season 4, like, oh, we got a train. Oh, shut up! I'll shut
up. Guns and Water wants to know what series. It's Survivors, the BBC show from 1975, I think.
So it's some of the same writers as Doctor Who, and a couple of the same actors that were in Doctor Who and other shows, like the BBC, I guess, at the time shared a bunch of stuff. So it's got the vibe of an old Doctor Who, but not anywhere near as weird as Doctor Who.
Yeah, the link I dropped a little bit earlier out in the live chat is for the channel, the Vintage TV channel, which has all 3 seasons.
So what we've been chatting about so far, Gizzard, does this sound at all appealing? Any interest in watching it?
I might check it out.
And the way it is,
I gotta come up with
you can pretty much listen to it.
That's kind of true.
Most of it you don't need to actually watch.
It's kind of super boring as far as like visual, yeah. Although it's kind of neat because they're in like a castle and then they're in some waterfall or whatever, but it's 1975, so it looks like. Oh, you know what it said though? I was looking it up. Did you know there's a massive following to this show? It's like a whole big thing. It's a massive following to this show, not quite as big as Doctor Who or nothing, but in a different way. It was one of the first shows to use, what are they called? Digital cameras? No, not digital cameras. Yeah, digital cameras, I guess. VCRs. I think we were the first shows to use VCR. So if you watch season 3, they only had 2 VCRs or what do they call them? Cassette recorders, whatever, the cameras at the time.
Yeah.
They only had 2. So one of them started to glitch. And in season 3, they said like one of the reasons they had to cancel is because their equipment was falling apart, and you can see a bunch of glitches on the left side of the screen. So I keep forgetting to watch, but you can watch season 3 and see like glitches and stuff because their cameras were falling apart, but it was because they were using the first VCRs or whatever cameras, and that's why it kind of looks shitty. And maybe that's why Doctor Who looks the way it does, because those were the first TV shows using camcorders, I guess. Or what am I saying wrong? What are they called? The technical word for camcorder. But whatever. They were the first channel. Everybody else was using, I guess, film back in the day.
Yeah, I had never heard of it until my friend Chris left a comment on one of the chats.
Oh,
I
okay.
forget what we were
This
talking
was
about another
recently then?
show, and he's like, "Hey, check out Survivors."
Okay, this was recently.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
2 weeks ago, maybe.
Well, you said something, and then I thought I for some reason I thought you were like on season 3, episode 4, or something, or season 2, episode 4. So I was like, oh shit, I better watch a chunk of it. If he's already watching it that much, it must be good. And then it only
Well,
took me like 3 episodes to figure out that it's one of those shows where there's so many people in it that if you don't like somebody, just wait and they die. So, most of the people are not there very long. So after a little while, I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? This is way more than just waiting for the adventure to start. Like the adventure kind of starts right the fuck away. Like nothing, it just
yeah,
doesn't hold any punches.
I had just been watching it while I was waiting for my daughter when I'd go pick her up. So I was only, slowly watching it. And then since I've been off this week, then I went ahead and just finished watching the rest of it.
Yeah, I kind of got caught up in it and I couldn't stop watching it. And I mean, I like 70s shows normally, but this one has nothing I normally like from 70s shows. There's hardly any guns. There are some fouls occasionally, but the cars are stupid. I like
they're technically speaking, they're L1A1s.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Caliber.
What?
There's just slight differences.
Well, they're the wood fouls is what I would call them.
Yeah.
So they're not. I thought they were from Australia, but I guess they're in England.
Now the British had their version of the fouls, which was
Okay.
the L1A1.
Oh, so they never even had a foul.
Technically, I don't think so.
Okay, so the foul would be like Belgium's version of it. Okay.
But basically speaking, it's the same gun.
Or if you want to act like a British, you could say, "Oh, you have an automatic." So do you remember? This is a spoiler, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Whenever the part where there's an Indian and they go somewhere and they're eating Indian food, right? And the guy who's the drunk, he's in it a lot. The guy who's the drunk, the shepherd guy. Do you remember him going woke food? I had to listen to it like 3 times. But this is in 1977 because it was episode, I'm pretty sure it was season 3. So that would have been 1977. And it's essentially the old grumpy guy of the group at the time. He's like the old grumpy guy, like the grandpa guy. And there's people from India, right? They're making Indian food. And grumpy guy is like being told, hey, we're going to go eat curry or whatever. And he goes something like, he doesn't say fuck him, but he says something like, damn woke food. And I'm like, the hell? He said woke in 1977.
I missed that. I remember him not wanting to eat it.
If you feel like going back, you can find the place where they all say something about curry, and then they're like, oh, that's the smell. And then they go in there, all wanting to eat curry. And he says, and unless woke means something else in England in 1977, I guess. But he goes, woke food. There's no subtitles to get it to come up, but I thought that was crazy. I didn't know that word was that old. If it's still the same connotation as now.
I'll have to go back and listen to it.
But I'm going to try to get Matt to watch it because he can have. I haven't had him in a long time, but he can have like interesting conversations about like the theory of prepping and stuff. And I'd really, after somebody's watched even an episode or two, because there's so much stuff that happens in it, a season or two, you could watch chunks of it and still be able to have like, fun conversations about like, should they have stayed at this place, or, what would if they would have stayed at this place and then, been aware of this so that the smallpox didn't happen or whatever disease happened or something, or like what if they would have burned this area down or something, or like man, they do it to you. They like the one guy who goes to the place and then that stuff happens, and then later on they're like, oh, we could have just gone to a vet. Dang, like years later or months later or whatever. So I was
Oh,
looking to see if that girl was in any other shows. She's in some Doctor Who's and stuff. And the guy, the main guy, he's in a couple of Doctor Who's and some other shows.
I'm not surprised. Like I said, it's state-run TV, so there's not a lot of money there.
Yeah, I think it's
For
like when we were
production.
watching the Beverly Hillbillies. You know, they were also in like whoever was in the Beverly Hillbillies was either a guest star and they were from movies, or they were in a cast that was in like 6 other shows at the same time from the same, what do they call those? Warner Brothers and that. Paramount
You talking about like a production studio or?
studio, yeah. You know what I mean? Like they would have, like, for a while there, the studios just owned a bunch of actors and they would just shuffle them around and be whatever. Like Rockford Files, like you're watching it and one time it's his best friend, 6 episodes later it's the enemy, 6 episodes later it's just some guy walking down the street.
Oh, Mr. Giz Gary,
Yes, sir.
is there anything you'd like to plug?
I'm going to Nebraska.
Me too.
Yeah, a couple days. So no foul territory this week. So we'll resume it again next week. Same way with we just had my members only chat tonight, and we'll do that again next week. But yeah, Thunder on the Prairie this weekend. Looking forward to it. Getting to get acquainted with some new people, reacquainted with some people that I've met before, and go shoot some guns with people, which is kind of a unique opportunity, not just to meet people and shake hands and share stories, but to actually stand next to them while we're doing one of our favorite things, shooting guns. So, what's not to love about that? Plus, it's in Nebraska.
Nebraska is a nice place.
At least it's not the Panhandle.
That's true. Nah,
Yeah,
they've always been very friendly people up there. So,
I decided not to bring any firearms with me. Just
What? Are you flying or driving?
yeah, I'm flying. I don't know, it's extra hassle and more potential problems.
What if you take them to the gun show, use the loophole, go to a gun show in Nebraska and get them there?
and you get
I like to travel light, and if I take them, then I have to check them, so I have to deal with that, and then there's the check bag fee I'm gonna have to pay. And whereas if I just do carry on, everything's with me. I'm in, I'm out. You know.
it's going to be your luck. You're going to win a bunch of stuff this year and have to get it home.
Well, I'm bringing this year. I'm going to bring a carry on suitcase and my backpack.
So did you bring guns last year?
No.
What about sending them? It's kind of late.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we
They
can
got
find
an FFL there?
to shoot.
Do they got an FFL there?
I don't know if they do.
Guessing not very close.
Oh, sometimes the range will have one, for whatever reason in the facility itself.
Don't think so, but I wouldn't swear they don't because I don't know.
So you can ship guns to an FFL to yourself, yes. and there's people that'll do it that way. It's not the best way to do it, but it can be, if you're like an instructor, let's say, and it's going to be really expensive to drag them on the planes, that can be a way to do it.
Oh, that would have been good if Stan still had his pawn shop. They could send them to him. That would have been cool.
Now you can do that with long guns. Now you can't do that with handguns because you wouldn't be able to take possession of them out of state.
But
ARs, when people travel with like 6 ARs, they'll just send them sometimes.
So I decided not to take.
Well,
any
no. You can also, but Gizzard, you can, if you like, let's say you got a B&B, or better yet, like a cabin somewhere, or something like, so you can have a temporary residence in a place. You can send them to yourself at that temporary residence, as long as they get, what's the word, accommodated where they're holding them for you. Then you pick them up, open them, do them, shoot them, whatever you're going to do, put them back in a box, send them back to your house at home. That's, people have done that kind of thing, but you have to have a little bit more than like a B&B, some kind of like a condo or something where they'll hold them. I don't know what the word is, like, hold them without opening them kind of thing. So you're allowed to ship guns to yourself, I guess is what I'm saying, and an FFL.
Let me play this. GearWebsites.com for 2A stickers, patches, books, logo design, web design, 3D printing, technology consulting, and so much more. GearWebsites.com. Is there anything you want to plug, G-Webs?
I'll plug Defense Dad and Travis for coming up with the thing that makes everybody so excited to be able to go up there.
Yep, I will say a big thank you to them. It's last year was my first. This will be the third year. I went last year, and it was really fun, and it was really nice to be able to meet people in person. People that I talk to on the internets. It's nice to be able to spend time and chit chat, get to know somebody up close. Other than that, this weekend would normally be an overnight, but there's not going to be one because I'm going to be out of town. And
why are y'all, like, back in my day, when somebody would go somewhere, we would still go live? How come y'all are like, oh, we're somewhere, we can't go live anymore? Like, if your phone still work, you can still go live.
Well, that's the problem. You're out in the middle of the cornfields. It's the reception is
hotel somewhere, or are y'all staying in the bunks?
I'm staying there at the facility.
Oh, okay. Well, I can bring internet with me when I go places. I don't know what y'all are doing. I have a little hub thing that I bring with me. I mean, I guess I found dead places in the country, and I haven't been everywhere in Nebraska, but I feel like there's internet all over the place. I guess if it's just even if it's just cornfields, don't they need internet in their cornfields to run their tractors and shit?
They use GPS normally, I think.
Because it seems like Pat always has internet when he's out there on his tractor.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's satellite. They probably have satellite, but whatever. Anyway, I guess we're ending it.
Yeah. So
probably do a knife show since Gizzard isn't running. I did a knife show last time. It was lucrative, so I might do a knife show. Sell some knives on Whatnot, I mean.
Do you know what day, or you haven't figured
during his time slot? I think I did it during his time slot last time. Because, well, especially this time, whatever, nobody did a Gizzard show. Like, nobody did a rip-off show or whatever at NRA. So nobody will be able to do it this time because everybody will be with you guys. Everybody who would host. So I think I'll have that to myself, like that block to myself. But I'm not guaranteeing it. That means I have to set it all. Well, give me 2 days to set it up. I could probably get that going.
But there will be next Wednesday. There'll be Mouse Party, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And I appreciate everybody that was out there in the live chat that were interacting. And if you were watching, didn't say anything, don't be afraid to say something. It's always nice to see who's out there. And if you watch this replay, once again, leave a comment. Whatever we talked about. Agree with, disagree with, who's your favorite dead celebrity? And other than that, there we go. Hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do something good.